moving on to my 7 discoveries as a consultant, and be from a consultant. The first one is getting clients to pay for you requires different stories, your different stuff, and I've been an investor, which is even more tougher from the client. The client actually is paying you. As an investor, I have to convince my entrepreneurs that what I'm thinking is the right one. But I always found that it's always good to put stories and analogies and drive home your point. It's always good to backpack and excite them about your own life, so you get much more virtual sense. In fact, I still remember time when I was at 80 countries, and my entire board meetings used to go into saying, when are you hitting the century? And it was like Sachin Tendulkar going for his 100 centuries. So I still remember one time I said, this is getting sickening. I will just go and finish off the 100 countries. So I actually spent a year just getting to that 100. The third thing is hopefully in this session, it's always being different becomes very different. Always attracts and keeps you going. So provide what your clients don't have time to do, and most clients don't have the time to visit markets. They don't have time to go to customers, and they don't have time to read. And that's how you start building client headspace to limit you. Last but not the least, like with investments, it's a very limited time and resilience testing marriage with the client. So you ensure that you know the exit conditions, and you keep constantly adding. The second discovery life, and from a very client perspective, especially after COVID, life is all about pivots, like Latin American dancing. Yeah, I'm sure all of you would have done a lot of pivots in your own life, and most of your clients and your customers are actually struggling to pivots. In fact, in this generation is very unique. I think our generation or the generation next used to have 1 or 2 careers. People who are graduating now will probably have 5 careers in their lifetime, and they will not have the choice when they will transition from one to the other. We've seen COVID, so many industries have died, so many industries have come up. So life is all about pivots and change are always very difficult. So you and life has always become very crazy, right? It's always become better than yesterday. Most of you are glad you are off the corporate rat race, but then you have to make money by making your clients better than yesterday, right? And that you need to share your journey. It's again like investments, but always nice to understand their personal dreams, their values, their idiosyncrasies, and capability gaps. I always find, even as an investor or as a consultant, if you bring that personal angle to it and help them achieve their journey, it becomes a much more effective one. I've never struggled at the boardroom because always been saying what is your personal dream, and then the corporate dream comes along with it. And co-creation, it's always co-creation, right? It's always at various levels of the client. If you get into a partnership mode, a co-creating mode, I think probably you get more business. Life on the business treadmill, as you would have realized, and most of you are out of it, but it's become even more bad. It's become thankless, lonely, filled with politics, insecurity, and uncertainty. So you sometimes knew that and your clients have different level. You've got your organization, you've got your people, and people are different generations. Probably you'll make much more money by understanding each one is different and giving a different avatar or a face to each one of them. Number three, I strongly believe, I do courses on investment with B schools and undergrads. I strongly believe everybody is an investor and an entrepreneur, whether they are on a job or own a business or they are consultants like you. It's always good to have an ownership mindset. When you believe that you own 100% of the company, whether you're a consultant or not, I think that there is always that bite that comes in. People sense that whatever you're thinking is always from the organization's perspective and the organization's customer's perspective. The other thing that's usually missing is customer obsession, and I always do all my investor thesis and everything from the customer angle. So one of the things that I always do is understand the value chain and understand customer behavior and figure out which are the investees which will make money. And one of the best things I've found that is that when you put the customer at the center of your discussion and say what you suggest is in the benefit of the customer, I think a lot of hangups and egos go away. Most discussions in corporate life, I understand the customer is never there in the boardroom. And as a consultant, if you start bringing the customer and say what you're discussing, how does it impact the customer, probably it leads to a lot of sanity in the discussions. Number four, can go is understanding human behavior, and that's very interesting. That's what backpacking provides me. I've suddenly realized that WIFM that I talked about is not a common skill. And the funny thing about decision making, which I discovered at the age of 19, is that it's extremely simple. Most people look around trying to formulate a hypothesis, or they get confused because they don't know which is the decision to take. One got very clear at the age of 21, saying the best way to take decision is quickly find a gut, formulate an hypothesis, and then go around finding data to negate them. Most people try to find data to both support or negate the hypothesis. I've always looked for data to negate them. If it gets negated, then you move on to the next hypothesis. So life becomes very, 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 very super simple, and that's how I make even stock market or any decision as to what I want to do. Probably I'm the fastest decision maker in any restaurant. I go in, find the hypothesis. I know the waiter has the data. I'll ask the waiter saying what I order is good or bad, and if the waiter suggests and recommends, I'm done. Most people spend hours figuring out what to eat. Again, life and business consulting is a very, very simple investment game. There are four matrices to it. There's risks, there's returns, there's investment, and mindset. And whatever you propose to the customer, probably if you put this into a four metrics, it's a very interesting game to convince them. And that's what I use even in the boardroom. The second thing I find is that most people forget the mullah element. One is that you translate any of your recommendations to cash in the bottom line, and I've not found a single client when you put customer obsession and client into the equation. The areas of disagreement with the client goes away. All the egos goes away, and he probably becomes a better investor and a better client, better customer, better consultant to him. And the interesting bit, I think all humans and all clients intrinsically know the solutions to their problem. They need facilitation or validation. And if you kind of prove to them that it's they who know the solutions, probably you can elevate yourself and your solutions to higher value chain issues because they kind of then start trusting you. Number six, I think serendipity plays a humongous role. It's all about, in a lot of ways, it's not luck. It's just that what you're doing, and timing and resilience and flexibility determines all. Especially in the investment this field, you can wait for investment to give you 10x returns, and usually it's the 10th or the 11th year. Just losing the patience is when it starts giving you the returns out there. Last but not the least is that. It's a very interesting bit. We are all going to die. You are just the instrument. And I found in most people, hubris is the biggest enemy. And if you look back at life, its values and ethics the biggest friends. And most people who are who are successful in convincing others or being loved by others, usually the values and ethics are very well stated and they're fairly transparent.